everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Talk to Tot. Real people, real talk, real life. It is your host, Tatiana Monet. I'm late again on this video, and part of me is unapologetic about it, and another part of me isn't, because when your schedule is changing, when life be lifing and things are moving, you have to adapt. You have to switch things up. But I didn't want too much time to go by, so I'm about 4 days, going into 4 days late on posting a video. But I still will, by the end of the year, have 52 videos. Like, that's a personal commitment of mine. So anyway, thank you for your patience and waiting for this week's episode, which really should have been dropped on Sunday. Yeah, but don't worry, y'all gonna get this week's video as well, which is separate from this one. So anyway, what I have on the agenda is talking about life after college. That's not to say that if you didn't go to college, you shouldn't listen in. But for you, how you can apply this for you is if you've had a certain milestone, like you went to high school, you're done with high school, whatever, or after you've had kids or whatever. So anyway, after college, life after college, you would think that if you were looking at your story from the past, that you would be in a certain place now. And not only myself, but a lot of people that I have had really deep conversations with, we're not where we want to be after college. And part of it is because we went to college. I don't knock school, don't get me wrong, but there's this stigma placed upon us in society where school is going to get you everything you need. There's people out here making money, way more money than a lot of us who have degrees, and they don't have a degree. That's a testament right there. You don't have to have an education in order to make an honest living, make buku money. You don't have to. And a lot of us, like me, 2 masters, a bachelor's, a certification, not making 6 figures. A number of reasons go into play with that. But specifically when you talk about how going to school is dressed up and how they have you thinking that your life will look after that, and it doesn't, it could be a bit of a culture shock. When I graduated college, I went to Clark Atlanta, the illustrious Clark Atlanta University. I love my HBCU. I love it. Like, if anybody wants the experience of college, go to college. If you don't, that's cool too. You know, get a job or become a business owner, but do you know what I mean? That's how you have balance. Like, not everybody meant to go to school. Not everybody meant to be in the workforce immediately. So yeah, I get it. But what I thought was going to happen versus what actually happened is they're like night and day. They're like night and day. And it hits you because then you start thinking, have I been bamboozled? You know, why am I robbing Peter to pay Paul to get bills paid? Or, oh, I have to get a roommate to make ends meet. Or I have to move back home with my parents so that I could get some time to like re-up on my bag. Like, it's like, what did I go to school for? You know, you spend this time in school getting the educational acumen so that on paper, this company will hire you because that's the stipulation that they put out there. Then you get the degree. Now it's, oh, do you have any experience? I was in school. What did you want me to do while I was in school? And actually pass, because you actually wanted me to pass with a certain grade. I couldn't just get D straight through. I got to be present. Okay, so experience. All right, I take a couple years, go get some experience. Then they want to throw at you, especially if you're in a city like Atlanta, where it's more political. And I'm not talking about government political. I'm literally talking about like popularity contests, who you know type of stuff. So then you get into, well, who referred you? Okay, so am I being penalized or disqualified from this position just because I may not know a certain person? Like, where am I supposed to find certain people at? If side note, some people, and I was just talking to one of my best friends about this, some people get to where they got off the strength of knowing somebody else, whether they want to admit it or not. Good for you. Like, I'm glad that happened for you. How you were able to get in, cool. When you are not that person that was in that room, or this person just happened to be my roommate and now we own a multi-million-dollar business, or this person we had class together, it's like I can't control what school I registered to, what year I was coming in, what dorm I stayed in, or whatever. I don't have those chance encounters. So how is it that you expect me to meet certain people to get me to where I need to be when they're based on chance encounters? We're just talking about it from that perspective. So that's kind of like, it's almost like nepotism, like, oh, I'm gonna hire every family member I have and get up through here. It's like, okay, so I don't have that, but I know I'm dope. Like on paper, I could probably be your boss and prove to you that I can. But because I don't know this person, I don't have this verbal clearance from someone that you trust, when that's probably not how you got there, and it's probably not how the company is founded on. Anyway, so if you don't have the experience, or if you have the experience and you have the educational acumen, then it's like, oh, well, who do you know? Okay, then what you run into after that nowadays is no longer just based on, do you have a degree, or what type of degree do you have, or what percentage you graduated at, like as far as your grade average and stuff like that, or your experience, or who you know. It's also now, do you have a specialty certification? When did you expect me to get all of this done while I still have to sustain a living? You act like we base our lives off of this one job or this one industry. Sometimes, like, I've spent a portion of my occupational career not in the field of study that I prefer, simply because I'm trying to make ends meet. Because I've tried to find somebody who find this experience, attend this networking event, volunteer or be an intern here. I've done it. I've dressed up in suits and gone to some of the most prestigious companies, or met with some of the top Fortune 500 companies in a room interviewing. Nothing. So when you get doors in your face, rejection, denial, disqualified, overlooked, or I've even gotten, you're overqualified. Okay. So when you hear that story about who rose to the top and they started as a paper boy, or in the mail room, or they were someone's assistant and they ran to get coffee, or they were the front desk receptionist or something, you mean to tell me I can't do that either? What do you mean I'm overqualified to be a front desk assistant? That is one of the most pivotal places to be at, because I get to see everybody when they come in first. Networking opportunities. I mean, come on. I'm not looking at it as what my hourly finna be. Okay, I'll give me a little part-time. I'm looking at it as, this is a catapult. This is just a threshold. Like, and it's crazy because me and my female best friends, I'm not gonna say we compare, because we don't compare. We don't do that. We don't do that with each other. We're analytical and we're real, but we don't criticize or compare each other. But when we were analyzing our lives, we all have a different way that we got started. And all of us look at each other like, well, at least you have this, or at least you have that, versus where I have, blah, blah, blah. So it's almost like, in a way, like you still have something to be grateful for, type of thing. But the commonality is there's still some type of barrier no matter what we did. Like, one of my friends, she went to a trade school. Like, she went and got certified. Instantly, she's active in her field. You know what I mean? But then when you move to a different area where your field is not dominant and you don't have the buzz from clients, now it's like, well, wait a minute. My other best friend is like, okay, she got her nursing. She's a certified registered nurse. And it's like, okay, you got this. And now it's like you want to pick a specialty, but then you have certain people within that realm that you specialize in, like, oh, well, maybe you should do this or that. And it's like, no, like, I don't want to just be general or just be floating all over the place. I want to go into a specialty. So you have people trying to steer you where they want you to go. And it's not because they see the potential in you. It's because they want you where they want you. Then you have my other best friend where she's like, okay, I have my job in healthcare, but what I really want to do is stuff with beauty and stuff like that. Like esthetician. She's a like certified esthetician. So it's like, okay, you have that going on for you, but then you have where everybody is willing to pay for certain people to do it and not people from their own community. And she has a legitimate, professional, clean, well organized business. And so it's just like, what? And then you have me where it's like, okay, I moved away. Like two of us moved away to school. One of us stayed at home for school. And then the other one, she stayed at home and went to trade school and got her certification, her license. And she's been actively practicing. Like she was practicing in her field before any of us were. So then you have me, like, I moved away. I'm the only one that stayed away. And I'm getting acclimated to this new area. And once I graduate college, now I'm out here in the real world and I'm thugging it out. And it's like, wait a minute. Based on the math, with this degree, with this educational background, I should be able to walk into a room, interview, show you what I'm compatible with and all of that stuff. And I should be able to have a lot more doors opening up for me. And it's not the case. And when I've spoken to some people who are more on the street side, and when I say street side, like they're more street smart. They're like, you just got to grind. You just got to hustle. You got to get it out the mud. You got to da, 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 da. And when I look at their life versus mine, how you grew up is completely different than how I grew up. Like my maths. It's not, and what I mean by that is some of the people that I've interacted with, it's like, you just got to grind, you just got to do it, do whatever, go hard, do it to death, like go get it, you know, all of that type of stuff. And it's like some stuff we haven't had to just fight tooth and nail for, because if the rules say this, then you qualify, you get it. And I'm not saying that that's how everything in life is, or that's like, or that it should be like that or whatever. You know, I know that there's certain outliers out there, but when you have people coming with different upbringings, you feel bamboozled when it's like almost everything that has been poured into you, it's not showing up. That's what I'm saying. So it's like for people who had to literally get it out the mud, like you was born in the hood, or your people, and I'm not mocking or saying anything. These are things that I have actually heard from people. It's like I had to get it out the mud. Like we know what it's like to not have this. Like we don't have lights. We eating syrup sandwiches. We doing all of that. So their mentality is different. So how they go with things, like they go against the grain. Like my ex told me, "You're a very good student," and I'm like, "Huh?" He's like, "You're a good student. Like, if someone tells you you need to do X, Y, Z in order to get this, you're going to do X, Y, Z in order to get that. Versus instead of you being a student where you have to always receive knowledge from a master, you become the master. Like, yeah, there's some tutelage. Like you have to, everyone is a student. Like I don't want y'all to get stuck on that. Like everyone is a student in their own way, because you should always be learning, always be growing. But when you are always stuck in a student mentality where you just do what you're told and you expect it to pan out the way that they say it's going to pan out, that's not how life is. It's not. It's kind of like you expect, okay, I get paid every 2 weeks. I know I should always have X amount of money showing up in my account. Well, no, this done popped up. The car broke down. Like all these restraining forces, these outliers, they pop up. And so people who have that mentality where they grew up having to really figure it out all the time, especially from their youth, that mentality is embedded in them to where it's automatic when it's time for them to either enter the workforce after graduating college, or they're like, no, I see the bigger picture. I don't have to go to college to get here. I can get there and skip this step and not have debt and owe the government. I feel like I've been bamboozled. I really have. I don't regret my education. I don't regret my experience. But knowing what I know now, I probably wouldn't have went straight. I probably wouldn't have went, bachelor's, MBA, second master's, like all through. I would have took a break, or I just would have instead of getting a second master's, got my doctorate, you know what I mean? And really that's not a choice that I didn't want to just get a second master's. I was on the path to getting my doctorate, but the school program had whatever going on. And I was like, well, okay, whatever. But anyway, for me on paper to know I should be making 6 figures. And right now I am making, I don't want to say minimum wage. I'm not making minimum wage, but it ain't 6 figures. It's 5. It's 5 figures. And I'm in my early 30s. What are we doing? And there's people that I know that after college, things just took off for them. And when you hear a person's story, I'm the type of person, I need to know the why. I need to know the how. Because things have to make sense for me. And sometimes things not making sense is what makes sense. It's like, oh, that's meant to not make sense. Got it. I accept that. But when I talk to certain people, like this one person I know, this one girl I know, her goal was not to be in operations. That wasn't her goal. But she ended up, chance encounter, she met somebody. They got her into operations with a beverage company. And she's been in operations for a number of years. And then she moved to a really big distribution company now. And that was not what she wanted to do. But she's making buku money. It's like, okay, I don't even have them flukes. What is happening? And what I'm trying to narrow all of this down to saying is life out of college can be a culture shock of its own. That's what I was saying. I was beginning to say in the beginning. That's funny. It's a culture shock when everything you thought you knew no longer applies. You have to do a lot of re-strategizing and recreating your foundation. And that's not something that you expect to do from a platform where you felt like this is where I actually can excel from. More so you look at it as, no, I shouldn't be rebuilding from here. This should be a new, like this should be a continuance. I shouldn't be starting over from here. And there's a lot of us out here that are like that. And it sucks because it's like, okay, you get told to play by the rules. And if you cut corners, stuff catch up with you. I've seen it. People, you know, especially with the federal government. I'm not cutting no corners with y'all because y'all really patient. And y'all know y'all gonna make y'all case. I ain't got time. I ain't cutting them type of corners. Now, granted, taking certain rational risks, I agree with that. You know what I mean? Like that's how change is made. That's how a lot of evolutionary things have come to fruition because of that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you are literally told, if you do this, you get here and you don't, you're like, okay, so what are we doing now? How my mom tells me, she said it to me before. She said, this was a conversation we had like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Because she was asking me, like, how long has it been since you've been out of college? And it was coming up on 7 years. So, yeah, this is our 10-year anniversary this year for class of 2014. So it was 3 years ago. And I was like, it's been 7 years. She said, you've been in park for 7 years. Blew my whole little soul. Like, granted, what my mom says, she says out of love, but she's hardcore. She don't sugarcoat nothing. So she'll give it to you straight, no chaser. And she's like, you've been in park for 7 years. She was like, I have my hat, my gown, my shoes, all the celebratory garments I need to walk into these rooms that you should be in when they're calling your name out for stuff. I need to wear my clothes. So what are you doing? And over the past 3 to 5 years, because some of those thoughts I wasn't really expressing to some people, because sometimes when you are going through your own thing, you don't want to come off like you complain. And it's not about what other people think, but sometimes you don't want to hear yourself complain. Sometimes you want to get your own mind right and be like, what is it that's going on? What is it that I'm going through? Or what's happening around me? And sometimes too, you don't want to put that on other people, because when we tell people things, some people do absorb it, whether they are conscientious of it or not, So sometimes you keep certain things to yourself because it's like, this is mine to deal with. I don't want to have to burden you with that. And so I had these conversations with myself, and that's how it showed up in my demeanor, in my disposition in certain instances. I'm not where I want to be. I'm nowhere near where I want to be. And I was just watching this National Geographic documentary, and someone, one of the photographers that they were spotlighting, said, I didn't have a plan. And when I did have a plan, my plans changed, and I didn't really know where to go from there. And that's a very scary thing. I identified with that instantaneously. I had a whole plan. I should have been in some type of residency program by now to be a psychiatrist. And that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do. But that's what I thought I wanted to do. And fast forward to a conversation that my mother and I had recently, talking about how everything has just happened since me graduating and stuff. She said, well, you have to consider this. You changed your major. Granted, it's not that you did anything wrong, but when you change your major, I changed my major second semester of freshman year. Even though you take your gen ed classes, I was like loading my schedule up. So I was pretty much done with my gen ed classes. Like I only had like maybe 1 or 2 left to take for my second semester. So I was actually getting into the electives of my program, of my psychology program. And so that throws you off, because then now you got to worry about swapping these courses for this or whatever. And everything that you were learning, everything that you were interning for, vying for, studying for, now you have to switch gears. Granted, I'm glad I did that, because I switched to mass media. And I'm like, that's conducive with my personality, with what I want to do with myself and all of that. So I'm like, okay, I want to work in entertainment. Cool. Atlanta's the mecca for that, right? Finished my degree, got amazing experiences and internships and stuff like that. Small note, in Atlanta, if you do not want to use your body or your looks to get to where you want to go, for some women like me, it is a very hard journey. I've had a lot of closed doors in my face because I would not open my legs, or because I wouldn't allow people to treat me a certain type of way. I'll leave that there. So things with the entertainment industry weren't pushing like how I wanted it to. And when I say I've interned with some prestigious companies and individuals, yeah, but when I say doggy dog world, a lot of times it ain't even the dudes when it comes to like being cutthroat, like the sleeping part, like, like them wanting you to, have sex and stuff like that. Like, yeah, that's a guy thing. But at least in my world. But the cutthroat stuff, it be coming from these females. They think you trying to take something from them. I've been told by so many women, like, I just don't understand, like, why you're just so happy to do some of the simple things around here. But I'm happy to be here. What's the problem? Knock it off. But anyway, and they railroad you, or they blackball you because they feel like you're getting in their way. But it's like, but you already have the job. I'm an intern, I guess. So anyway, then when you have your plan rerouted and you start with this new plan, and then you graduate, and then your success is not perpetuating, because when you try to get experience, you have people who would rather put their friends on, or they see a person whose light just shines bright and they feel like that brightness is getting in the way of their brightness. And that does happen. It really does. It happens. Or you have where they just don't want you and they just don't want to tell you that. All of that rejection, denials and dismissals, it builds up on you. And I know for me, I went through a period where I shut down. Because when I say I went hard, I went hard. And you have that that unction, that zealousness when you first graduate college, you are on go mode. You like, I got to make something shake. Like, I'm fresh out. I got my degree. I'm ready to do this. And then when you keep getting knocked, when you keep getting banged and bruised up, you like, yo. And you still got to maintain a living. And if you're like me, you don't want to have to go through certain things like living off of other people or relying on other people. I don't like people holding nothing over my head. So I've always had my own place. I was on a college dorm for 2 years. After that, the remainder of college, I was in my very place that I'm in right now. I don't want nobody telling me what, when. I got to consider other people's thoughts or whatever. No. But those things has its cons as well, because a lot of people who got to where they are now is because they've always had somebody else in the mix where they were able to save their money. I didn't have that. And that's not something that you consider on the front end. It's not a negative thing, but it's like, okay, it's pros and cons to everything. So back to the conversation me and my mom was talking about. So she was like, you changed your major. Then when you changed your major, you realized that after you graduated school, when you weren't getting the jobs and stuff, that your educational background should have at least gotten you further in, and it didn't, because that's just what was happening. Then it's like, okay, well, let me go get a second degree, because I don't want to just be someone's employee. Like, I want to be a change maker. I want to be an executive. Like, I want to be the person that makes decisions. Okay, so I'm going to go get my MBA in sports and entertainment management as a concentration. Me finding out in my program and comparing it to a lot of other people's programs, I'm like, unless you're set up with a job, which really a lot of jobs at that time for those years, they were looking for people like in supply chain management and operations and finance. And it's like, I'm going into entertainment. Why have a degree field when you're not going to be going into that workforce afterwards? Like, y'all should be having people lined up to meet us. I don't want to go to supply chains informational. I want to go to entertainment's informational. We're in Atlanta. Where are all these record execs, TV stations, radio stations? Where's all these people at, right? So exposure, that's another thing. That's an issue. You don't have the exposure that you feel like you should get with this ticket. They say this degree is this golden ticket, right? And it's like, I'm in the city where it shouldn't even be a question. Those things don't happen either. These places are not looking at you. They're looking at, well, who do you know? Back to what I said earlier. It's like, I got my degree. I got some experience because I've interned. Now you want me to focus on who can I know that you know? How am I supposed to make sure I know who you know? That don't make sense to me, right? Then what she also said was, when you experienced your program, one of the things you said to me, and this is what my mom is saying to me, you realize that with school, they teach you how to be a good employee or a good manager. They don't teach you how to be an owner. Because when I started, like even with my side jobs and stuff like that, but when I was interning at these places and just working at regular jobs to keep the bills and stuff like that, a lot of stuff was just retarded to me, because I'm like, well, I'm a work smarter, not harder type of person. So I'm like, well, why don't y'all just, and how about we do? But people are so accustomed to being familiar with their own chaos and confusion, they're not as open to change. They're not as susceptible to it. I'm not good with that. I'm not good with that. It's like if a caterpillar can't bust out the cocoon to be a butterfly. No, I gotta burst. I have to have this metamorphosis. I can't just stay here. I'm not good with stagnation. I'm not, how my mom says, shiftless. I'm not good with being shiftless. So you have that to think about as well. It just keeps building up. These layers just keep building up. Just imagine if I had kids or a family to maintain in the house. It's like, oh my God, But then once you have that, okay, with that decision. And each thing that I'm experiencing, I find a way to conquer over it. But mind you, as I'm conquering it, more time is passing that I can't get back. So when I was originally pursuing my doctorate, but ended up getting my second master's from Penn State, that program was all designed on how you own your business. I'm like, okay, this is the missing piece. I know how to be a good employee, and I have that displayed on paper. Me having my own business, I was like, because I see the issues with how businesses are ran, and I know what I can offer the community, the world really, and I want to actually provide jobs for people, especially in an avenue that's, it's a road not traveled as often, especially in the Black community, where you're merging art and wellness. Like in my mind, how I want to do it, I need to own my own stuff. Especially when the older you get, you find out like how dependent we are on other people's stuff, that we don't have to be. It's like the reverse. Like back in the day, like centuries ago, our people were more self-sufficient, made our own clothes, made our own things. Now we're so astonished when someone makes their own clothes. It's like, but that's what our grandparents, parents and stuff were doing, or our grandparents, you know what I mean? So it's like, I want to tap back into that. I want to tap back into reclaim. It's kind of like when an artist gets their royalties, their masters. It's like when an artist gets their masters. I want my masters. I want to be able to be the master of my fate and the captain of my soul. Y'all know Invictus, whoever knows Invictus. If you know, you know. So after graduating from Penn State, and I'm like, okay, I know what I need to know as far as like behind the scenes on the do's and don'ts of having my business, that some people have to learn 2 to 5 years into having their own business. I can skip that step. All right. Now I have this business, but guess what you need? Money. Then, as I am on that path, COVID hits. 2 years of dormancy, right? But I still have to have a job. All this time, everything is just, it's almost like I'm pulling dead weight. So when I look back, like I'm 10 years out of college this year, part of me feels like I have nothing to show for it, because I'm nowhere near where I want to be. I'm not working with BET, or I'm not working with the Atlanta Hawks, or I'm not working at Turner Broadcast. I'm not working with Tyler Perry, or I'm not working on one of these reality TV shows doing what I need to do behind the scenes. It's not like I'm trying to be the talent, because Lord forbid, if I wanted to be a singer, that's a whole nother cutthroat industry. I don't got time. Too many of my friends have done it, trying to do it now. I give it to y'all. It's very draining. And a conversation that I was having with someone at one of my part-time jobs that I have, they were like, I just look at like, why did I even go through all of this? You don't see this outcome coming, because if I did, I wouldn't have gone this route. You know what I mean? But when you are in survival mode for so long, and you look up for a second, you're like, did I waste my time? And I know this story may not resonate with some people, because things worked out for y'all. You either had parents that had money, or you were at the right place at the right time, or you were the one that you were building it out the mud from the jump. Like you didn't have like career changes or whatever, you know, or you had a roommate that turned out to be somebody popping and y'all linked up and now y'all got whatever y'all got going on. Your significant other happened to be so-and-so, or you slept with this person. Whatever it is, you got to where you needed to be. So you may not identify with this. It may come off as complaining, or you just didn't go hard enough or anything like that. But it's like, when all you do is go hard and you kind of don't go nowhere, it's like, okay, what else do I need to do? And I'm not dismissing the fact that I moved away from home, been on my own. Like I was only on campus for 2 years. I literally have been on my own, had my own place, own car. I had a solid foundation for myself since I was a teenager. I'm not knocking that. I'm not knocking that I have an MBA, that I have degrees from prestigious institutions. I'm not knocking those things. But when I go into my living room and look at my diploma, that ain't paying no bill. It's not. When rent late, when lights late, when car note late or about to be late, whatever, I can't just show them my degree and be like, yeah, remember this? Like, honey, we need the cash. So I put this out there to y'all because I really want to know. Like I said, I'm a very analytical person that wants to know the how and the why. What did you do, or what would you do in my situation, or a person's situation that's similar to mine, where it's like, okay, you followed this path, you followed your steps that you have, this plan, and nothing's moving. What would you do differently? What would you do from here on out? I really want to know. I mean, granted, I have some things going on for myself, things that are starting to change. Thank the Lord. But I still sometimes think about what has led up to this point. And that's just because that's how I'm wired. You know, as I grow and learn, I always look back at the evolution of my thoughts and behaviors. So that's really what that is. But yeah, I want to know. Tell me, like, talk to Ty. Tell me, hey, this is maybe something you could do moving forward. Or if I was in your shoes back in the day, I would have done this or that, you know, because I need to understand. I need to understand. There's money out here to be made. And I may be a square for saying this, but I want to do it in a way where I ain't got to worry about the IRS or the federal government tapping on my shoulder. I want peace. I don't want to have to lay on my back to get it. I don't want to have to be somebody's footstool to get it. I don't want to have to be that person when I'm left alone looking at myself in the mirror like, why did you do that? I don't want to have to compromise my morals and my values. So with that being said, tell me, let me know, help assist. You know what I mean? Like, each one teach one, right? Put me on. I'm more than willing to learn. And there's a lot of people out there who can relate. It's like you graduated college with this debt that you like, look, y'all ain't getting all of that back. Ain't no way you want me to pay you what my student loans is in full, and you have a comma in your student loans. No. Be real. Like, me contributing to society and paying my taxes should naturally be reducing my student loan debt. And I know that's not how I work, but that's how I feel. Anyway, but there's a lot of people that can relate. A lot of middle working class people are just like, I've done everything I can to try to make a way. And yeah, it ain't happening. The roadblocks, the barriers, the closed doors. It's like, but then some of the people you see winning, whatever that look like, you like, how did you get? I guess. Good job though. Congrats. Like, I'm not hating at all. But I look at myself like, okay, so wait, okay, so what can I do with my situation? So again, please let me know. Put your feedback, your comments below under this episode. I would love to hear what you have to say, because it can help. You never know. And even if it can't help the past, it may help me make peace with it. You know what I mean? Another perspective that I haven't considered. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all for listening to me talk about life after college and what it could be for some people. And I'm still sitting here today as a testament that even if things don't pan out or go according to plan, you still can be the change you want to see. It's always something else that can be done. Even if it don't seem like it right away, even if it don't feel good that day, use that time to rest and recuperate, come back to it, and know you could get yourself out of pretty much anything. Because that's what I have to tell myself. Because if I didn't start telling myself that a couple years ago, I wouldn't have made it this far. You know what I mean? So that's part of that self-love, self-care. And it has to be a routine. You have to train your mind to do that. So I thank y'all for tuning in. Again, I apologize about the delay, but I appreciate you rocking with me. And I look forward to you guys tapping into the next video coming up at the end of the week. So like, follow, subscribe to Talk to Tot, Real People, Real Talk, Real Life on Apple, on YouTube. I post some videos like snippets and stuff on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. But if you want to follow me, the podcast is _ Talk to Tot. My main page is Tatiana Monet. And it on TikTok, it's Tatiana _ Monet. So y'all got my handles. Reach out to me if y'all have any questions, comments, or concerns. And I hope that y'all have a great rest of your week. Bye.